For your Caesar, Cardiff City ride with me for your Caesar. For your Caesar, Cardiff City get litty for your Caesar. She want a diff boy, swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. She want a diff boy, swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. For your Caesar, grab a little something for your Caesar. We the geezers, swagger stone cold like freezers. She want a diff boy, she want stabs, not Fitzroy. She want a diff boy, she want stabs, not Fitzroy. She want a big man, says she want a man from...
She want a big man. Yes, guys, welcome to another edition of your Fleur Hour. I am Rob. I am joined by the final boss, Mr. Ace Podcast Nation himself, Aaron. How the devil are you, mate?
Good evening, Rob. I'm very well. It's wet outside, but it's great inside, isn't it? And it's only a couple of days until the event with Cavs, so I'm on it. I'm enjoying it.
100%, mate. Happy Cav Eve, everybody. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about that along the way. Just a bit of housekeeping, guys. Obviously, fully aware. Really, really important. I think it is an important show that Ainge is doing with Penalty Youth Coach at 9 p.m. this evening. So we will be finishing some 5-10 minutes or so prior to it. So, you're not overwhelmed with back-to-back pods, etc. Because we do think it's important that you don't miss any of Matt's show this evening as well. I definitely recommend it. I know I'll be tuning in myself personally as well. But anyway, enough about him. This is about us. It's our time. Let's jump straight into it then, mate. Obviously, Reece covered a little bit about the game last night. Thought we'd go into a little bit more detail, talk about a little bit, maybe a lot about the Cav event. I know there's a few things that's happening at the Cav event you want to touch upon as well, mate. And maybe a quick little preview of the Bradford game if that's cool with everybody. And of course, your interaction is key. So get your questions, comments, and etc. Slam them our way, and we'll get through as much as we physically can. So without further ado, start from the beginning there, mate. Team selection, happy with that last night? Any surprises?
Absolutely. I think the only thing I would have probably done, if I'm honest, is probably put Chambers in instead of maybe Lawler. I thought maybe there was an opportunity to rest him. But yeah, it was exciting, wasn't it? All those youngsters that were in there, and to be fair, they walked off the pitch again with their heads held high. Before this season, I weren't aware of many of those youngsters, if I'm totally honest, but there's certain names now that are on the edge of my tongue thinking, these guys are going to be pushing into the first team. And just very excited, Exeter, and they're not a bad team. They caused us a few problems, but we kept it tight. We kept a clean sheet. We played football. Obviously, I think even at a time when, the sending off happened, we still sort of resolute. And, even with the experienced heads out there, that goal was required, I think for Robbo as well. And it was just nice to see, it's nice to see that there's a squad, and irrelevant of who's picked, they're still giving everything. They're playing the Brian way, and you can see why they're not far away from the first team. Even, is Kian sort of banned this weekend?
Well, I've spoken to a few people about this. Apparently, it doesn't carry over. It's not like, so I think when it's like when it's an FA Cup game, for example, I believe they carry over. But it's almost like European rules, like Champions League, Europa League rules, etc., where it's not relevant. That's what I'm led to believe. Someone most doubtably will correct me if I'm wrong, but I've read that from a few resources online, that won't make a difference to him. And to be honest, mate, I don't want to change it too much, but I wouldn't be surprised if BBM maybe does pull him back potentially. It's a big game on Saturday, obviously Bradford, but I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe did take him out of it after what happened. I don't know. Do you reckon he would?
And that's the thing with that, if he was banned, I wouldn't be too overly worried with the players. That young Nakakawa, whatever his name is, when he came up, he obviously started out. He looked very, very promising. So he's going to learn from it. He's a young player at the end of the day. And I think that bold chap did get right under his skin to a point. But I just think, whoever we select on Saturday, they're going to put in exactly what the boss and the gaffer asked for. And I think we're going to get a positive result again. So, last night was great, in a sense, we've taken 3 points within the group. And, we've got a crop of 4 or 5 youngsters that look like they're close to being ready for the first team on a regular, consistent basis. So positive all round.
And it is 100%, mate. And it's great. Like, I know people can, like, me and Reece spoke about it a little bit last night, but like, you could speak about the fact that obviously it's more games in a big season, a big important season, etc. But if we can use these types of games where obviously, yes, it'd be lovely to win it at the end of it, but reality is nothing really that importance up for grabs. It's nice to be able to use these games to get these young lads playing senior football or 21s football, etc., and things like that, playing men's football. And obviously, it's good for the fringe players, etc., or players coming back from injury and stuff like that to get minutes. And, like you look at Turner, obviously, he didn't do nothing wrong in my eyes before the new keeper came in, but obviously it is what it is, and that's what it was made to be like. But
you're absolutely
for his development now, mate, isn't it?
But you're absolutely right there, mate. You look at it, and years gone by, we would have loaned them out to the League of Wales teams, etc. Whereas now, okay, it might be only the Vivo Cup, but they're playing the Cardiff City way. They're training every day with the Cardiff City first team, and they're going to come, further on, and they're going to be better for this season under Brian. You want to keep the better promising players, and as long as they're getting in the form of game time and around the first team, learning that Cardiff City philosophy for the next sort of 12 months is going to be fundamental in their in their development, as well as how they sort of grow on and step on next season.
100%, mate, 100%. And a few comments about it already. I will go from in a little bit, guys. Fico, I thought he was outstanding again last night, mate. He absolutely ran that midfield. He was superb.
Absolutely.
And what difference it makes. Like, I don't want to harp on about too much, but playing him in his correct position.
No, you're absolutely right. Considering the game he was sort of pulled at 30 minutes, and that yellow card.
Yeah.
And then I think there was one moment around 70 minutes. It was the smile on his face after he just made that big tackle in the midfield, and I was just like, that's what it's all about. Football's about enjoying yourselves, representing the club that you support and you grew up with, and you're putting in performances like that, and it's almost he's gone out and put a performance in like that, sort of backs up everything that Brian says about him, and obviously with the support of the fans as well. That kid, has got great potential there, and what I love about not just him but all the youngsters that are coming through, they seem very grounded. There's no egos, there's no players thinking that they're better than they are, and it's long gone of the players where they're actually looking for opportunities at bigger clubs. They understand that their developments at Cardiff City, and I think the future and their sort of next step and journey is with Cardiff at the moment. So no, but he was a great player, and in a side that played against some of the sides of those midfielders yesterday, I just thought he did very, very well.
100%. And there was a gentleman who joined the chat, an Exeter fan, so fair play to him for tuning in, etc. So recently I put a question to him whether that was their first 11. He said it was very changed. There was quite a few changes, with it. But what I will say, though, is it didn't seem, on appearance-wise, I don't know that team very well, don't get me wrong, but they didn't look like they were kids either. So I think it's a different beast when you're playing against fellow 19, 18-year-olds than going and playing against 30-plus-year-olds or whatever who are experienced pros, may not be in first-team football in League One, but they've been around the block. They know all the dark arts and things like that. And, it's not poo-poo the fact they are still professional footballers playing at a decent level, regardless of whether they're in the first team or not. Like, Christ, most kids and stuff would bite their hand off to get that level of football. Just make no bones about it. Like, so I think that, it was extremely positive, mate. Neckar was quiet. I'm one of his biggest advocates known to mankind. But I thought fully a bit of a quiet game, a bit of a shaky game at times. Although I do think once Capaccio come on, he seemed to settle a bit more. I feel like they've obviously built that relationship of maybe the 21s and probably the 19s as well. I expect. You correct me if I'm wrong, mate. But I imagine that's where that relationship has been formed, and maybe why Capaccio somewhat struggled in the Welsh game against Canada because he didn't have like a Lawler or something next to him who he knows, etc. Do you know what I mean? That could be. I might be putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5, but that's what in my head. That's what I'd be thinking about.
No, you're absolutely right there, mate. We sometimes forget how many games that these players have under their belts. They're learning. They're learning under Brian. They're learning under Craig as well, and they're trying to make a trade for themselves. They're trying to establish themselves as first teamers. They're playing an evening game under the lights. There's an expectation against the team that it's their cup final, or it's an international appearance, and there's all that going on as well as trying to put on a performance and do your job. You know what? You're absolutely right. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be development issues, but as long as they ride through it, they're going to come out much better players. And there's a lot of people within sport. People a lot more experienced than myself and established. And their opinions of these players is that they're going to, they're going on to great things. And like I said, as long as those feet are on the floor, I think the structures they've got in place around them, it's very hard to fail at Cardiff City now. So, no, you're absolutely right there,
pal. There was one I wanted to bring to you. Was it John who said, where's he got on? About Luke Pierce, mate. I've not seen Luke Pierce for a little while. Are you aware if he's injured or not? Do you know?
I know that there was a small injury earlier in the season, and I know they were looking at loaning him out, but I haven't heard his name for a while, to be fair. But I'm not sure what's happened there. I just know there was an option to loan him.
Fair enough. Right, let's jump some comms, man. Shall we? Bloody hell, you busy lot you are. HTO, Heart Emerges themselves. So lots of articles, both UK and European, all targeting Dylan Law as a potential January signing. Offers being in 7 or even 8 figures. Jesus. Chelsea, Dortmund, Newcastle, Man United, Spurs, and Leipzig. All prepared for the bidding war. What's the price? So what would you say is this price at this given time?
A realistic price?
Yeah.
At this moment in time, just because of the number of appearances probably have for club and country, you take into consideration probably his potential. You would probably be looking for around 10 to 15 million pounds, probably with a sizable sell-on fee. I think for Cardiff City, they would be very stupid to take anything like that. I think you give that guy 2 or 3 years and under this sort of regime development and sort of an ability to grow over the years and step up and get 20 or 30 caps for Wales, I think you start looking around 30 million pounds. You look at, I know we always say, well, that he's not an English player. But if you look at some of the centre halves that England are producing at the moment, he's probably head and shoulders above some of them at the moment, especially at their 21 and 19 age grade. He's very clever, and he knows exactly what he needs to develop. And I think there's a clear and precise plan that Brian has with him. So I don't see it. It'd have to be crazy money, mate. But I would say 10 to 15 would when the club would start thinking about it.
Yeah, that's it. And it's crazy because you'd think maybe a couple of years ago we probably let him go on the cheap for like 2-3 million pound, like sort of thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, in my head, which is a very crazy and dark place to be, don't get me wrong, but I would have I'd say he needs at least another 18 months. He needs to complete this season and then do another season then as well. Hopefully in the championship, and see where we're at then, and then go from there. Obviously, I want him to stay even longer, but by that period, he should be racking up a few Welsh caps, I'd imagine. He stabilise more, be more of a seasoned pro as such, but obviously still at a very young age.
Sorry, carry on.
Don't make one.
So I was going to say what you'll also find is that as Cardiff City are progressing and they're doing well and securing hopefully promotions, etc., that you'll find the stature and the value rises then. But it also brings up the value of the youngsters around him. So the Kapakiels, players like that, and they'll be going from those smaller figures you spoke about, because clubs will look at, and you can remember what it was at the Gabardon and the James Collins sort of situation with West Ham. Clubs will start looking at the partnerships, etc., and you're absolutely right. Everybody loves the sort of next big player from a country, don't they? It's just the Ramsey time and etc. And Dylan Lawler just has all the attributes, not just to be a great centre half, but like a footballing centre half. And the way that professional football goes these days, if you've got a player that's got that ability to carry that ball out of that back four, I just think it's worth a huge investment, and that's probably what these clubs are doing at the moment. He reminds me very much of Rio Ferdinand, the way he carries the ball and plays it. And it's probably a strange comparison, but
I agree.
Yates, and he does it with pace, and it's everything that we wish Chambers, who's played Champions League football, could do. And you've got a young lad who just does it over and over, and is everything that we need.
Yeah, I think that's a really good reference, and because like Rio was, so I'm blowing smoke up his ass for people, but I think he was ahead of his time in the era he was playing. That it wasn't that much of a deal, like the ball playing centre half. It wasn't that common back then. I say back then, like it was in the fucking 70s, 60s, but that's what it feels bloody like now. But no, I agree. I absolutely agree with that, mate. Just maybe we should start talking shit about him, saying how crap he is, and then he'll catch on, and people say we don't want him, and he'll stay forever. But
I think the thing that we've got as Cardiff City is, between Fisher and Lawler, these are two centre halves that you could play them together for the next 5 or 6 years. You just don't need to make many changes there. They just look solid and they do everything that Cardiff City needs.
No, 100%, mate, 100%. Right.
Remember that comment last week?
Yeah. That was with they weren't us, was it? It was like no, you and Evan, wasn't it?
Evan was Evan misinterpreted.
Yeah, silly boy. Rookie C, not a pro like me. I'm joking. Right, what we got? Let's go back to the start. HTO says play hardball. If you want him, we're accepting bids starting at 25 million plus sell-on fee. That's me. That is won't be long. Like,
what that value of also Lawler puts on is the cost of what the club will be valued at as well. We've been talking recently about takeover bids and stuff. Obviously asset value is sort of taken into consideration. That would put a huge increase on club value.
100%. I said, I just think we keep these together for a couple more years, mate. And how many times we can have this conversation now over the next 7-8 months or whatever it is but it is going to be a regular theme. You can see it coming. It is. We will talk about the game camp on Saturday in a second. What we'll do is shall we talk a little bit about Friday?
We can do. Exciting times, my friend. Exciting times.
It is exciting times. Can't wait for it, mate. Absolutely buzzing. Spoke to you, obviously, off air. Me and Angel coming down in the Valley van. Going to be there in the cons by about 4, 5 o'clock, I reckon, just to soak it up. And obviously have a catch up with Jordan and the team and that as well, because they're cracking bunch of people, in fairness, there, mate. They always
you're right there. Yeah.
Feel welcome, in fairness. So can't fault them. I'll have my discount card ready.
Drinks on you.
It's not that much of a freaking discount, let me tell you. But no, I can't wait, mate. It's gonna be class, isn't it?
Oh, what I love, mate, is we've got the squad as in our group back together and under one roof, and we've got the Nation Army with us there. All the people that invest so much time and sort of subscriptions into making the things that we do enjoyable, you know, because without them lot it's shit in it. But you know, it was nice. And obviously Cav, some of the stories I've heard already are quality, to be fair. You know, as always, you know, where else can you get an event where it's a safe space? It's a space where we can go in, we can have a laugh. You know, it's not just the event that we've got going on. We have the magician is back. You know, we've got a well-being club. So Dan's back there just doing a check-in during any of the interval breaks if anyone wants to have a, you know, a private and confidential conversation with him. The raffle's back. So obviously, I think the ticket prices, I think is 5 tickets. So it's a strip for £10. Obviously, it's the home and away validated top signed by Cavs is up for grabs again. I know that Cardiff Classic Shirts is having an auction on the first period break. So the event sponsors for the night. We've also got the Solar House, which is it's quite a big company around South Wales, and it's expanding across the bridge, and they help provide sort of solar power to properties. They're match night partners as well, so they've helped this event sort of kick off, and they'll have a little just chat with everyone attending. But what it's now doing is becoming a community event. You know, it's not just about us putting on a great event for you guys. It's also about helping local businesses who have just started out grow. It's about offering people support networks. It's about making sure people come and they feel valued, they feel welcome, they feel happy. It's about creating a network for everyone. And you know what? Just creating sort of the Ace Nation Cardiff City World family now. You know, and that's what it's all about, you know. I can't wait to say, you know, hello and to everyone and get the negative feedback for how bad I talk and my dry sense of humor. No more the final boss, but no, it's going to be a great time, you know. And what excites me more than it, you know, with what me and Si are doing behind the scenes is the events. They just come in more and more, and we've gone from a position of chasing events to people are coming to us now and they want to speak in front of you guys and they want to have these events. And when it comes to excitement, I really struggle to bottle it in. And some of the names I'm hearing and what we're in discussions with, I'm just like, wow, like we are sharing a room and having an interaction with so-and-so, with so-and-so. And they're like, yeah. And you know, I'm getting messages from some really big legends, I would say, within football. We would know in Premier League and around Cardiff City, and they're like asking to come to our events, which is bonkers, absolutely bonkers, you know. And you know, a lot of this credit goes to Si because of the amount of work he's doing, but also the team behind the scenes. You guys just make it happen, and you know, we'll all share a pint on Friday night with the army, and just it's going to be great, mate. And I can talk about it all night because anything that excites me just makes me happy, and I just waffle a lot. But yeah, I just can't wait for it. I can't wait for it.
100%. And like, it was such, I think it was the Bellamy one, which was a freaking surreal one. Like when Si asked me to, like, just keep an eye on like the photos and signings of things like that. And obviously Bella's obviously coming with his own people, but obviously Si wanted me to make sure, you know, it was all right as well, etc. It's just nuts. Standing right next to the Welsh manager, and it's like just making sure like it's just all okay and that. It's just wild. It's nuts, mate. And it's so good and it's class. But yeah, and obviously he's obviously announced Moza not long afterwards as well, mate, and tickets have gone on. They have gone on sale, haven't they? They were on sale a couple of days ago.
They're selling very, very well, and he's a different sort of character to Kavanagh, but and lots of different stories again from a different sort of time and era. But Moza, for all the other reasons, is very interesting. It was the sort of time when I was sort of around down the club, and yeah, one that's definitely gonna attract people's ears. We'll put it at that, because he doesn't sort of hold back with what he discusses. Whereas Cav, I had a conversation the other day with Sam the Man, and we were talking, and it was really interesting because he shared a few that he asked Catherfield to talk about. And if that's true, they're bonkers. They're absolutely bonkers. So it's just interesting that every different sort of player that we're bringing is different generations at the moment. There's different stories, there's different eras of the club, and you get a real insight to what really happens behind Cardiff City.
It's different personalities as well, mate, isn't it? And I think
absolutely
that's big. Is that this personalities that caters for different types of people? And there was a gentleman who commented last night and said he was in Mars' biggest fan when he was playing for Cardiff or something along those lines. And I get that because not everybody was going to be there. Every person we get booked, etc. They ain't going to be your biggest fan or player, but it's more than that. There's even if you're half indecisive on it, it's worth it because it's not as stupid as it sounds. It's not just about the person themselves, like what you see, what you've seen on a football pitch, etc. There's so much more to it when you go to those events. It's so much more deeper than that. So yeah, that's what I'll try to get my point across. But obviously, that'll be good.
That's what I love when the sort of negotiations happen and sort of draft up the contracts, etc. One of the key questions is there anything you won't talk about? And to be fair, so far the sort of guests that we're having are quite open. They don't really shirk away from any questions, and all they want to do is to be able to speak in front of the fans. I know Sean's done a few things recently, but he's definitely got a few things up his sleeve, is the best way to describe it, for this live event that a few people won't have heard before. So definitely worth the investment in a ticket from what he's told me. Okay.
And Mr. David Evans, no, we won't talk about the Ledley event and the comments me and him had. Dick. No, it is a case that if you know, you know, and that's it. It dies with us. Simple as that. Sorry, not even for a Patreon show. On that note, we're just going to quickly jump to a quick ad, guys, and then we'll do a quick little talk about the Bradford game Saturday to close us off. Cheers, Si.
This episode of Cardiff City World is brought to you by Coral, the proud sponsor of the TalkSport Fan Network, here for all kinds of fans. For the armchair experts, whether you're constantly negative, overly positive, or maybe even the instant over-the-top reaction social media guy or girl, for the football fashionistas still clinging to the legendary terrace fashion of yesteryear, or the best retro gear from Michael Thorne, the nostalgia merchants, dreaming of the old lady Ninian Park, or still celebrating Campbell's goal in the Millennium Stadium, whatever kind of fan you are, with Coral's free-to-play reward shaker with a guaranteed daily reward or offer throughout the season. Simply shake your phone to win. Over 18s only, maximum one reward or offer per player per day, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Reward restrictions and requirements and other T's and C's apply. For more information on safer gambling, visit gambleaware.org.
Thanks, Si. Much appreciated, mate. Right, so this will make me chuckle. Martin says he's got his mozzarella tickets already. Sue says he's going Italian, and predictive text. Get them mozzarella tickets in, mate. This is so right. To close us off this evening, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming game on Saturday's Bradford game. Obviously, massive game. One of the biggest competitions we've had this season so far, do you say?
Absolutely. We all talk about the sort of bigger teams in the season, but they haven't really started very well. But this team's, joint points of us? I think they conceded 10 to our 2, but they're scoring goals, This is probably the benchmark now. This is the game. If we win that, we create that bit of a gap, especially at home. Home is meant to be a fortress. So what I'm hoping and what I expect is a statement of intent by Cardiff City, and it really shooks the rest of the league. However, it's going to be a tough game. They're no fools. They're bringing a good following with them. And I think genuinely we have to be on our A game. There won't be time for any complacency in this game, and I think it's going to have to be a really fast early start. I think Cardiff City are going to have to be in their faces, but it's a tight one. But, you've got to go in with that confidence, haven't you? And at home, I'd expect us to beat anyone, my friend. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I must admit I've not seen much of what Bradford have done this season. Obviously, I've seen where they are in the league, etc. So I don't know a great deal about them. But yeah, it's going to be tough. There's goals in that team. for sure, given their record, but they are more than capable of conceding some as well. So I think this is where Cardiff's got to be more cutthroat, if you like, where we are dominating teams at times. We're going to have to potentially look at pulling the trigger a little bit early. I know BBM has obviously mentioned he wants to try and bring that in a little bit. So I think, it's a good way to start is just to not go for, sometimes go for that extra pass and just go for the trigger. So I think that's going to be key. But yeah, they're a proper football league team again. How many times are we going to say that this season? They've been yo-yoing between League 1 and 2 for what, the last 20 years, 10, 15 years, like that. Obviously, I'm old enough to remember Bradford as a Premier League club not so long ago. I say not so long ago. It probably is a long time ago now, but I remember Bradford in the Premiership, with Dean Saunders in front, etc. Back in the 90s, whatever it was. But they find themselves there, and it shows that they are a big club, and League One is a difficult league to get out of.
Yeah, they've got that player on there, Bobby Poynton. I think he is 5 goals in 7 games.
Yeah,
so he's playing up top. He's
that's the one, Martin, mate. Peter Beagree, remember him? Didn't he used to have his hair? Was he a left winger and he used to dye his hair red? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I got a feeling it's him. Yeah, I got a feeling it's him. Somebody will correct me. But I'm sure he used to do that. Used to dye his hair. But yeah, that's a name. Christ, Steve, that's an hell of a player over the years. Yeah, but that striker, mate, sorry, going back to where he's going to be dangerous, I think.
And Will Swan was another one I know that I've seen on a few of some of the ones to watch. I know Will Swan was another one that's getting a lot for them as well. I think most of their goals become between them two, and I think there's only a couple.
It's going to be hard, mate.
I'd expect Dylan to have him in his back pocket, and if he's not in there,
keep them quiet then.
Pretty much, I think, from what I've seen of them, they're quite a counter-attacking team. They try to get the ball early forward, quite quick, but defensively we're very strong. We've got the octopus in goals that defies all rules of gravity and God. So we'll be fine there, my friend. But it's just, I just think the only thing I'd say about Cardiff City need to polish up and is probably their shot conversion ratio at the moment. Like you just discussed a minute ago, that extra pass, I think. There's so much ability in that front three where we can get goals and we create enough space. It's just, but yeah, again, we've had a rested Colwell brothers, they'll be back. Probably Willock on the left, It'd be interesting who they put on the right this time. I would have probably gone for Isaac, Salek back. Just everything breeds goals, doesn't it? It's just, we're saying that and we're still winning games, so.
Do you think then Ashford's benched on Saturday?
Yes. The thing is, he's got that ability of just turning the game on his head and scoring a goal. But I just think, you look at Isaac at the minute, and Isaac's got something like 3 goals to assist in how many substitute appearances. I think it's crazy stats, and I think he deserves a crack at it. But what I think with Isaac is just everything is on the front foot. He's aggressive in the way we play, and he sets the tone for people around him. And I really like how he sort of settles in with the sort of the left back when we're sort of playing that. It complements the right hand side, and especially at home, you need to be able to give that that option. Even if you do what you used to do with Tanner in half or 60 minutes each. I just think Keane, for me, I think he's more of an impact player at the moment. Bring him on when teams are tired and let him run at people at that point. I just think at the minute, the way that Cardiff City are playing, they just need that balance. They need a bit of pace. And you get so much of that on the right-hand side, but it's a little bit less on that other side,
Should we talk team then?
Yeah.
I think it will be Trot, Capaccio. Actually, I haven't said that. I reckon we Trot. I think NG starts. I think he's going to start NG.
He had a great game.
had,
Great game.
He did have a very good game. And that's no disrespect to Capaccio in the slightest. I think, given that he had a good game, and given NG's experience, and it is a very big game on Saturday, I think NG starts with Lawler and Fish centre half.
So it's a real tough one, isn't it, what you've just said, because you're absolutely right that NG had a great game. I just wonder if in the back of Brian's mind the team was already selected for Saturday. What
was that team that went out on? Yeah,
I just wonder with Capaccio, you're absolutely right, and on form, NG had an unreal game, but I just think what Capaccio gives you is that directness. He complements the right winger, and it actually, we talk about the relationships of players, and the right-hand side is tight, isn't it? When NG sort of came on in the League One game the other day, it just didn't have that right balance, and it's that sort of game. Do we want to be on the front foot and offer that attacking impetus that Capaccio offers, or are we going to go more of the conservative side? Because Perry's defensive game is very, very strong, but I think going forward, he sort of lacks it there. So it's down to how Brian approaches the game, in all honesty. And you can tell by his selection whether he's going to go for it. I think Perry, I'd like to see Perry play in a back five, but obviously it just thing. But I think you're right about the back four, but I would probably have said Capaccio, in my opinion.
So given that then, obviously what you mentioned about the team last night, would you say then that Chambers is going to start tomorrow? Saturday?
No. I don't. It's the biggest game of the season. Why would you move away from Fish and Lawler, who are by far your best two centre halves on form? And then Osho came yesterday and had a very good game. So that's
very quick, isn't he? He's very quick, Osho.
And you look at the balance on the bench at the minute. You've got Perry that can cover right back, centre half. You've got Osho that plays centre half. So that's your sort of defensive options almost covered there. And I think recently we've been playing probably that extra defender when we didn't really need it on the bench. But this is a sort of game that you can't really allow for those mistakes. And if we do go behind, you're chasing a goal, you need a bit of variety and a bit of options. And our forward options, I think, over complement our team. So you need to try and get as many of them possibly on the bench, I can't see Chambers being on the bench. But I'm not the manager, am I, pal?
We can only wish now as you're good. I love you. You ain't take this spot.
but to
take Chambers' spot, mate. Hey, I believe in you enough to take Chambers' spot, and you can have that.
But Chambers, from everything I'm hearing, Chambers on the training ground and in the change rooms has been exceptional. He's been a great leader, genuinely, and he's not thrown his toys out the pram. He's been an exceptional captain. And listening to Brian as well, he's actually performing in the top two for the centre halves in the training. But there's a reason why he's not being selected on Saturday. You know what I mean? And that's the thing for me. But I don't know. It just, at the moment, Cardiff City fans are on a positive spin. The stadium, the atmosphere is very good, but a team selection can affect that. And I think this is the game where everyone needs to be on it. And you're not going to do that by putting Chambers in.
Aaron going robotic for any of you, or is it just me, by the way?
I can see you, pal.
Yeah. You literally just went full on Hawking mode for a second, that's all.
Sorry, it's another ability I have.
Man of many talents. Right. Oh, Christ. I'm well aware of the time. Let's quickly run through this because obviously I'm well aware Angel's starting soon as well, so I don't want to overlap. I want to finish way before that. Midfield. So
interesting.
Davis. Well,
I'm intrigued for your opinion first, my friend.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so I will go Davis. Given what I've seen, I don't think this will happen, but I liked how he played. I'd go Davis, Turnbull, Joel Caldwell, Ruben Caldwell. And the new lad left wing, but I don't think it will be. I think it'll be Willock. And then I think it'll be Sarge up top.
I've got a wild selection. It's never going to be selected by how I'd play it. I would personally go the 2 Colwell brothers holding. I think that it's the sort of game with how that they're going to set up that I think Ruben will have a bit of space. I think Joel will just sort of protect that. And then I would go Callum off Salek. And I would go Isaac and the other chap on the right. And then at probably about 60 minutes, then I would introduce, the new player as well as Keane and Wintle at that point. But I just think it's the sort of game with how they're looking to approach us with counter-attack. I do think they're going to sit a little bit, and I think Ruben will have a lot of space. But I've seen something I criticise Callum quite a lot, but last night I seen it. There was a bit of a spark in him that he's hungry, he's passionate, he wants to get goals, and he was getting it back in those positions that were really interesting. I know Salek struggled with that at the minute. I think if you give Ruben that space slightly deeper, and I know that's where Craig and that see him, I just think, something in my gut tells me that would, but like I said, I'm just a football manager, and the laptop doesn't compare, but no, I think that's what I would do, and it'd be something different.
Hey, mate, that's what we got to do, mate. Love it. Yeah, I'd be surprised if Callum does start.
No, I think, it's very, very wise what they did last night.
Yeah, it's 30-odd minutes, wasn't it?
Last night. 15-minute cameo winner in front of the Canton stand.
Can you ask for any more than that?
Callum Chambers winner in front of the Canton stand.
Hey, mate, no. Do you know what? I got more chance of my prediction from last season coming true when I was going for Dimmy and Seal both to score. So no chance of Chambers doing it. And it still lives rent free in my head that I think probably I didn't do obviously every single week last year. Sorry, but every prediction I could do, it was 9 out of 10 Dimmy and Seal to score, and
wow,
shock horror, it never happened. Sad face, upside down frown. Right, we are going to wrap him up because we are 10 to. So what we'll do, obviously, give you all 5-10 minutes or whatever before Angel starts. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching along. Lots of interaction. Sorry I've not been able to get through 20 comments. It was obviously a bit of a condensed one this evening. Make sure, guys, you go and get yourself a cuppa or whatever beverage ails you, and tune back in 10 minutes or so for Matty Angel. Highly recommend checking it out on Ace podcast page, not your Cardiff City World channel. So make sure you check that out, guys. It is very it's important to take a look at that one. If I don't speak to any of you before, which I'm sure like 99.9% of you are in the WhatsApp group anyway, so I'm sure I'll catch up with you the next couple of days. I will see you all on Friday. Same for you, Mr. Final Boss Man. Love spending time with you, mate. I've really enjoyed it.
See you all Friday.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll speak to you before that, but thank you all. Apple flower and good night. God bless. Goodbye, my friends.
Thank you.